Nothing we say is investment advice. Please pause on all 3 pages of this disclaimer and read it. Greetings, Algo Artisans Cowboy here. It is Monday, July 13th. It is currently 5:15 p.m. EST. We're going to take a look at some trades that I see possibly coming this week for the NASDAQ, Bitcoin, USDCAD, EURUSD, AUDUSD, gold, and silver. But before we get to that, take a look in the description. I've got a freebie in there for you. I've got a free algo. So a quick video. It's like 15 minutes long or so. And I show you how I build an algo right before your eyes. I'll show you the tools that traders use to connect it to their exchange. Now you do have to optimize the algo. We teach you how to do that stuff at algofactory.tech. Come check us out. Also, please like and subscribe. Something like 60% of you who watch this do not subscribe, so please do so. Before we get into the charts, we're going to take a look at the data this week. It's a big week for data. So the predictions that we make in the charts today could actually be way out from where the charts predict, right? I predict based on what the algos say price wants to do. However, we have PPI and CPI coming out this week. We have Kevin Warsh, the new Fed chair, testifying. So price really could get pushed around in unexpected ways this week. That said, we're going to talk about those events right now, talk about the charts right after that. So let's take a look at forexfactory.com. Monday the 13th, no news, and it's pretty much over. Tuesday, we have the CPI coming out at 8:30 a.m. EST, and that's pretty big data. That's an inflation metric. That's what a lot of the market looks at for whether or not they think the interest rate's going to be hiked or if it's going to be cut or not. And so the market can move quite strong on those. We also have Fed Chairman Warsh testifying, and that's going to happen at 10 a.m. EST, which can go for another hour. I don't really know how long it's supposed to go, but that can move price around a lot as people are putting his words under a microscope, trying to figure out what he's going to do with his policy. We also have at 4 p.m. EST, Bank of England Governor Bailey speaks. Okay, so that can move the British pound around, and that can move anything British related around, including the FTSE. Wednesday, we have PPI that happens at 8:30 a.m. EST, very similar to CPI. Similar explanation is just on the producer side of inflation. 9:45 a.m. EST, we have the Bank of Canada's monetary policy report. So if you're trading anything Canada related, especially if you're trading forex pairs like the USDCAD, that can affect that. 10 a.m. Chairman Warsh testifies again. That's 10 a.m. EST. And then the Bank of Canada press conference is at 10:45 a.m. EST, where they will analyze whatever is said there, and the markets can still move around. Later that day, 2 p.m. EST, we have the British GDP, so that can move anything British related around. And that looks to be it for the rest of the week on news. So once Wednesday is over and Warsh's testimony is done, it's a little bit easier to trade. It's a little bit more smooth sailing, if you will. So let's go ahead and move into the charts, and we'll start with the NASDAQ. So interesting week this week. We expect a bit of volatility. And even though the algos say I think price should just kind of slump down a bit and move possibly to those lows that we saw back on Tuesday, where the market kind of melted down, price might go there again. It might, it might not. The CPI, PPI can make a big difference. Fed Chair Warsh can make a big difference in that. But if we were just to not have big news, or if the big news didn't end up being so big, then that's what I expect. Price kind of heading down. It might stay above this level at 28,890. And that might be a place to go long, but I'd be really cautious going long there. I mean, if I were to go long at that level, it would be a very conservative, quick target long, right? That's how I would do that. I'd look to enter at that moment when the algos said that I could. The highest I would take that trade would be roughly up to this level, which is at 29,600. So that's the highest level I would take that trade. But I'm not that excited for that trade. If price pops up on news and makes its way up to our upper bound, which is at 30,100, I would look to short that. That would be a short I'm pretty confident in. Of course, the algos have to give me the go ahead on that. If price made its way all the way down to that low that we talked about earlier at 28,500 or so, then a nice long, albeit a conservative long right there would be interesting. I would be looking to get out of that pretty quick though. Again, that would be a conservative long. I'd stay below the local structure and probably have a bit of a deeper stop. It just, these are ideas for trades. They're not exactly how I would take the trade. It might happen later, sooner. It might happen a little bit lower or higher, but these are the ideas for the trades I'd be looking at based on price, action, and structure. Let's take a look at Bitcoin. Bitcoin's pretty bearish as well, and I expect it to retest 60,000 and possibly go below. If price can break below this current level, there's this level of support right here where price keeps bouncing more or less. And I would really take a look at 61,340. Okay, so this blue line right there, if price makes its way down there, I would look for a pullback like this and enter a trade possibly like that. If it just breaks below sooner, I would do it sooner, of course. That's a pretty solid trade, and I would be out by 57,800 or so. That's where I'd be out. I might even take a long right there because there's a pretty good support right there. It's also where the stock market basically fell a few weeks ago as well. It's the same kind of levels, time, all that stuff. So the stock market might bounce there, Bitcoin might bounce there, might see a move up. I would be pretty conservative with that long. As you see on the screen, I would be out before this blue line that we just talked about earlier, this line at 61,340. I would be taking profit before then. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look at USDCAD. This one doesn't have a lot of very clear structure. I would only take very clear structural trades, which for me, the upper bound where I would short if price made it up there on news is 142.49, or the lower bound where I would long if price made it there on news is at 142.47. That's $1.40.24 Canadian dollars. So if it made its way up on news, I would short there. If it made its way down there on news, I would long. Okay, so that's how I would handle it. Short the top, long the bottom, and not much else for this. Not a lot of price action or volatility with that. The euro is another story. So there's a little more volatility here. There is a pretty good support for the euro sitting right at 113.27. Now, I don't think price is going to make its way up to the top. It could. I don't think it will. You have to see a major change, big news, whatever. But if price made its way down to 113.24, I would look to go long. Right at that level, I probably would be out by this level right here where all of this price action is. And I'll call it out to you. It's the top of this little green box right here. And that level is pretty much where price is right now. It's 113.85 or so. I'd be out of the trade by then. Now, if price breaks below, then whether it does later or sooner, I would treat it like we talked about with Bitcoin. I'd either short right here, and that level that we look for the breakout is at 113.24. I probably would be out. I don't think Bitcoin's going to panic down. It could. I definitely would be out before, or not, forgive me, I said Bitcoin. I would definitely be out before the euro makes it to 110.93, but I just don't think it's going to get there. I would be out of this trade by probably 112.20 or so. Just a healthy 3-to-1-ish. There's not a lot of structure or support to pay attention to on that, so there is that kind of issue. Let's take a look at AUDUSD. Similar scenario, I would treat this a little bit more like the Canadian rather than the euro. I would short this upper bound, which is 69.70 US, right? So I would short that, or if it bounced off this longer, I would look to take a conservative long, or if it bounced off this lower bound, which is at 69.05 US, I would look to long that, but I'd be out before this piece. I'd be out probably at about 69.42, which is this blue line right there. I'd be out by then. So conservative long. I'd look to also short if price made its way below this structure, which if it got below 69.04, I'd look to short that and perhaps bounce at 68.63. Maybe get a long right there. So just looking at all the structure that's made by prior price action and look to play those shorts and longs. Let's take a look at gold and silver. As the algos go, these are pretty bearish. Now, gold and silver are interesting. They tend to stay above certain levels when you don't think they will. So price could bounce at 39.50, which is where it bounced several times at the end of June. So taking a long there is actually not the worst idea, despite the fact that everything's rather bearish. And we have news this week that could change the bearish nature of gold. But what I would do is take a long there, and I would be out of that long by 40.50 or so, maybe 40.60. That's where I'd be out of that long. Now, if we do get a move down, there might be a little bit of a panic. And if I were to take a short there, I'd look at prior structure and I would be out of that trade by about 3,800. It's actually based on Fibonacci number, not structure. So those are the two trades I would take. Bounce there at that structural 39.60, which is roughly 4,000. That's where everybody's looking, or the breakout below gets short. And I'd be real careful with these two. They tend to want to not go down when they're supposed to. I'd be really, really conservative on the short with gold as I would with silver, which we'll take a look at right now. Pretty much the same playbook. I would consider going long at this level here, which is 55.66. I would be out of it by, conservatively, I'd be out of that long by about 59.50. 60. And it all depends on where I could get in and what my risk to reward is and whether or not it's even feasible. But this level right here is where I would consider getting out. Okay. If news pushed gold price up to this level, which is 63.14, this top level, I would short that and I would be out by this level right here. And that level is the current level of price, right? So I'd be out by this. It's based on this price structure around 57.65. And if price broke below 55, I would short down probably to 50. I wouldn't try to break below 50. That's a psychological number, but I look to short that. And of course, again, these metals tend to not go down when they're supposed to. So I'd be real careful on the shorts, especially below 55. So that's the charts for the week. These are the expected trades, the possible trades that might come through, expected path for price. We have a lot of news that can really throw this off. Okay. So if that news happens though, a guy like me can take a lot of advantage of it because of the volatility that ensues. So I'm never stuck on these. These are just really good trade ideas. As the week plays out, I use the volatility to find opportunities and make money. I teach people how to do this at algofactory.tech. So this is what we do. We predict where price is going to go, when it's going to get there, and we extract money from the market based on that data. And if you want to get a sneak preview of how we do that, get the free algo. It's in the description. It's a very quick video. I build an algo. I show you how traders connect the algo to their computer to trade for them. You have to optimize it first. So you can't just plug and play, but it is a freebie. So take a look at it. Also, we are live Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, 8:30 a.m. EST, where we take another look at these charts. We take a look at what's happened in the price action overnight and what might happen in that day. And then I reassess all of this and I look for specific trades at that time. And we have people who come in and ask for specific charts. We have an individual who comes in and he's really into some different tech stock plays. He wants to get my opinion on those. And we have a lot of people who have done that and become clients because of the kind of information we're able to provide. Of course, we don't give investment advice. We just talk about where I think the chart's going to go. Please do that. Like, subscribe, comment. Thanks for watching. We'll see you bright and early tomorrow morning, Tuesday, 8:30 a.m. EST sharp.